You can put it around your neck with this thing here. Pocket clip there on the back. Some friction going to build the heat up quicker. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it is the coolest time of the week, yet again, because the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves are on the table in front of me. And we got to start off with something I am very pleased about, the Mega Maximal from CJRB. The larger version of my Maximal design is now in stock. 3 versions of this at launch. They're all micarta. You've got green micarta with a gold pivot ring, natural micarta with a gold pivot ring, and black micarta with a silver pivot ring and black blade. And this colorway especially, I am really, really taken with. I know there were folks asking for an all blacked out version of the original Maximal. I'm working on them to hopefully do a version of that knife as well.
It's a drop point.
Just like this one. Yes, it is a drop point. Thank you, Thomas. I'm working on CJRB, asking them to do a version just like this in the smaller iteration as well. Because it just kind of takes it a little bit away from just like all black tactical, gives it a little bit more personality in my opinion. But it turned out really, really good. All of these turned out really good. The black shows up a little less good on camera, so let's do the natural one, shall we? 2 key things to take away from this. The original Maximal I designed with a 3-inch blade, but with a big enough handle that it could cut bigger when you wanted it to fit, legal reasons and people who just are more comfortable with a smaller blade, but you've been wanting a bigger blade. This is the bigger blade, but it has the same cutting geometry, the same ergonomics as the original Maximal, just larger, and the price has barely crept up. The original was $50. These are $53, $52.99 for an extra, almost extra half inch of blade. 3.43 is the official measurement on these. Very, very good deal. Lot of knife for the money. Again, geometry is the same. It's just as thin, and it didn't get scaled up. It just got stretched in certain places. So the handle, all of this from here to here is the same. You just have a little more at the back. The geometry, the front part of that blade is exactly the same shape and thickness as the original Maximal. So it slices and actuates or balances just as well as the original, just with more to bring to the table. I think they turned out super, super well. Blade is nice and thin, slices really well. Drop point does just about anything. It's not an overbuilt knife, so keep that in mind. The contouring on the micarta is just enough to make it feel really secure, and you've got enough height there for a full grip. You've got a deep carry pocket clip. Now, the 2 complaints that I often heard on the original Maximal was, one, it didn't have jimping, and the other was they wished that for the reversibility on the pocket clip that it was sunken in and had a blockout plate or whatever. I put jimping on this one for you guys. You're welcome. As to the other thing, this is exactly how I like it and want it. The reason being, let me show some examples here. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can have the sunken in section, the milled out section, but I'm not a fan of how this looks when the pocket clip is not installed on that side. Then the other thing you could do to hide that is do what this CIVIVI has done and put a little plate there to complete things. I still think this right here is a cleaner aesthetic. It's a cleaner look in the way it presents. And the way these clips are done, they're nice and thin on the edge here. Not so thin that they're not durable, mind you. But the edge doesn't snag and the screws are flush, so they don't snag either. And that's the whole thing that pocket is supposed to prevent, is snagging. So if it doesn't snag already, why bother with the extra machining step and the extra part and the not as good a look?
And increased cost.
And increased cost. My opinion. You're free to take it, however you wish, of course. I hope you take it nicely, but that is entirely up to you. Big fan of the price, big fan of the way they turned out, big fan of the new all black version here, all black, quote unquote. Just, turned out really, really good. There's a reason that I went with CJRB when, there were several reasons I went with them when I made the first Maximal, and one of them is just the quality to value ratio you get. phenomenal. RPM 9 steel, didn't mention that. Spray form steel. So it's more interesting than many of the other budget steels out there and performs quite well.
I almost forgot to mention the steel.
I'm happy. It's a happy day for me that these are out and these are available. And you folks can get your hands on them now, if you wish. If not, how about some other CJRBs? This is the Spud. Different flavors are available. This is the black blade with champagne aluminum handles. These are about $38. You got a sub 2.5 inch RPM 9 blade, kind of this harpoon shaped blade. Not like a harpoon point that we talk about, that's a particular blade shape, but an actual harpoon tip, like from a harpoon, the spear. It is, for me, a 3 to 3.5 finger, probably 3.5 finger grip, with a very aggressive area here for a finger choil, letting you get a pretty full grip on this small blade. It also, I like the way it tucks your fingers up underneath. So if you're using that Wharncliffe style blade, which is what I'm going to call it from now on, harpoon style blade, on the surface there for scoring cuts, plenty of clearance there for that type of cut. Nice and thin on the steel. Again, RPM 9. You've got an inset liner lock. You've got flipper tab or thumb studs to open. Use whichever one's more easy for you. Deep carry pocket clip. And then we come to the trick feature here. The lanyard attachment / backspacer here is actually spring-loaded and removable right here. Now they give reasons like you could have this attached to gear like that, or even around the neck and you have quick access to it like that. I'd just as soon use the pocket clip, honestly. Thomas came up with a good use for that though, because they include 2 of these in the package, right? This plus 1 extra.
Yep.
If you like to accessorize, you have like different lanyards, different beads. That's a real easy way to be able to switch from this to a different setup on any given day based on your preference, which is kind of cool. What else does it have? This is shaped sort of like a bottle opener, but the leverage is going to be not great on it. You might be able to get it to work though.
What is this, a bottle for ingots?
Yeah, exactly. So that is the Spud. It is here and it is available. So we make some kind of potato joke, but I got nothing.
Barrel spacers are like tubers?
Tube spacer, tuber. How about another CJRB? This is the Pyrite-Light. Everybody loves the Pyrite-Light because it's a great price for a great, budget performing knife. This one is a little bit more expensive than the cheapest Pyrite-Lights. It is about $38 as opposed to about the $30, $31 the standard one is. And that is because the handle material here, while still a plastic, is a little bit different. This is a thermochromic, color-changing green FRN. So it's a darker green here. As this gets warm, actually probably the best way to do that is like, well, let me close the blade so I'm safe here. Let's get some friction going to build the heat up quicker. Can you see? It's getting lighter. The more you grip it, the hotter it gets, the lighter it gets. It's not quite instantaneous. You got to hold it a little bit for it to see it do its thing. But it's something a little different there. You can see it there around the lanyard hole there a little bit, color changing. So that's kind of fun. Beyond that, is that a gimmick? Maybe. But the rest of the knife is still the solid Pyrite-Light. RPM 9 steel, yet again. 3.34 inches, modified Wharncliffe shape here. Thin, high grind, slicey, very acute and piercy tip, which is quite nice. A pretty accommodating handle. I get all 4 fingers on there quite nicely, and there's a generous unguarded finger choil there at the front if you want to get a little closer to the edge. Just mind that edge, of course. And then you have the plunge style button lock. Gives you that finger safe closing action, the wrist flick open or closed, or of course you could just use the thumb studs, which also work pretty well. There, you can see it's still even getting a little lighter still. And then you got a deep carry pocket clip to round things out. For the money, it's hard to beat the Pyrite-Light and the Acacia is the other one. If you like a drop point blade with a crossbar lock, that's pretty great. Yeah, $30 for a standard Pyrite-Light. If you don't really care about the color change, great buy. Next up, from Artisan Cutlery, the parent brand of CJRB, usually more premium stuff. This is the Santee. $190 for this with a just over 3.5-inch blade of S35VN and a titanium handle. It's got a bit of that kind of sharp finger thing going on with the blade, or even at least like old school slip joint blades kind of like scaled up and maximized in a way. That's what I see in this blade. There's a hint of recurve and that big long clip with a swedge. It's really nice. Stonewashed finish, so the wear from use hides itself in that finish. Titanium handles, as mentioned. It's just plain stonewash, but it has, this one at least, has a little hint of warmth to it in terms of color, which is pretty nice. Looking there on the backside, you've got a milled titanium clip, matching finish, and that is reversible, and then frame lock, of course. And for whatever reason, we're finding you do have to really be conscientious of pushing it straight at the 90 degrees, or else it gets a little trickier for me. I kind of had the same problem with the one at the blade show that we saw. Very nice flick open as well. Nicely sized thumb studs. I forgot to mention, that is one difference with the Mega Maximal as well. Made the thumb stud slightly larger on the bigger one.
Just can't stop talking about your knife.
I'm sorry. It's the one I know the most about. That's the Santee. It's made really well. Next up. This one was very popular. Launched earlier this week. The Zander from Vosteed Knives, a Cornell Kiss design. These are coming in about $169. You've got 3.4-inch blade. Drop point kind of goes up a little bit. It's kind of cool. Nice wave to the spine in any case. Drop point blade, S35VN, aluminum handles, Vancor lock, $169 for this. The Vancor lock is a pivot-based button lock type of actuation, but under the skin, of course, this is a patented mechanism, very, very strong. And then you've got 4 kind of distinct opening apparatus on this knife. You've got the rear flipper tab, which works quite well. You've got the front flipper tab, which works well even for me. You've got thumb studs, which for some reason didn't work as well. There you go. And you have a matching collar with the back spacer there for color there. And then you have the blade cutout as well, which means a reverse flick is quite nice. Or you could just do that wrist flick, because you have finger safe closing action and wrist flicky deployment and
that's 5.
Unployment. I don't know if I'd call that an apparatus for opening, because I did say apparatus here, but it is a fifth method. Apparatus is plural.
Not in my head.
Well, I got nothing. But the whole knife really feels substantial in the hand. Backing up the strength of that lock, you've got a big solid platform for heavier work. But it's not an overly thick blade. It's still going to slice nicely without you having to worry about it kind of snapping on you under most scenarios. Everyone can do it if they try, I'm sure. Other flavors are available if the gray and blue is not your thing. Next up, probably the 2 biggest pieces of news this week are the next 2 knives. The first is the Zero-G from Rivery. It is here. It's the 2nd generation of their spring retractable utility blade holders, and more kind of suited for everyday carry than the original. The original was kind of Zippo sized. This is a little bit narrower. I think it's a little bit narrower, but it's definitely longer.
Pack of gum sized.
Big pack of gum, I guess, yeah. $125 for these aluminum handles. This is the smooth operator milling pattern. There are a few different patterns to the cover there, but it is a manual slide open, as you can see, and then you pull down to retract the blade. Very smooth on the deploy and really fun on the retraction. It's a better size and shape for getting a full grip on the handle as opposed to the smaller version of the knife. And it also has this really cool spring-loaded trapdoor style pocket clip here to keep it in place. The original did not have a pocket clip. And I will demonstrate on the pocket here. You pinch it up, you can slide it in, and then you're gonna wanna push down on this section to pop it up like that, you see? That make sense? And then it stays in place pretty decently. It's not the heaviest of tension, but it works. Slide it out, push it closed, get to work. There you go. Blade changes on these are finicky, but easy to do once you know what's going on. Make sure it's deployed, hold the blade, and pull back. Because if you just pull back without holding the blade, it's going to retract. And then while still holding the blade, slide the cover forward, Make sure to keep your finger down on the red carriage right there, because if you pull that out, springs are going to go everywhere and it's a pain in the butt to redo. And then lift the blade out, replace the blade the same way, and then very carefully, should get the right side here, slide the cover back on, and away you go. They're really cool, and we have some for a little bit. One of the 2 versions we had in stock has already sold out by the time we're filming this. So, but you know, we have them now. We will get more in the future if we are sold out. The other big news, a bunch of new WE and CIVIVI stuff dropped yesterday. And this knife right here, the Pete's Pyrite-Light Iron Tide, has reached full production. And we've already seen these starting to sell pretty quickly on the day we are filming this, because we're filming this the day before you're seeing this, if you're seeing this on the day this goes up.
Lunchtime's an illusion.
See, you just messed up the quote so badly, and now I have
winning all day.
I have no response now. That's a pretty cool knife. There are 2 versions at launch here. You've got kind of a gray on gray version, and you've got this green or this black on green version as well. $85 for them, or $84.75 if you want to be precise. You got a 3 1/4 inch blade of 14C28N, very tough stainless steel. Slightly on the thicker side from a lot of the CIVIVIs we see, but not prohibitively so. It's still going to slice pretty decently. And although it looks like a clip point at quick glance, it is in fact a drop point, as you can see from the rocking motion I've got going on right there. Very effective blade shape for everyday carry. Aluminum handles with fluting, I don't know if I want to call that fluting, machined diagonals on them in any case, but all the edges are softened so it's comfortable, and yet you've got a nice grip when you need to kind of get sweaty and get real work done. Milled titanium pocket clip as well. I'm assuming titanium in this case, but milled for more strength. If you're the kind of person who trashes pocket clips a lot, this should stand up a little better. Not reversible, but you do have that plunge style button lock, which can work in the left hand. Gives you all those same advantages we were talking about earlier, the finger safe closing path, flipper tab, and thumb studs for opening as well. Very cool to see this making a jump from a limited release, which the original version of this was, to full production right here. Next up, we've got a new version of the Yonder from CIVIVI, a Zach Whitmore design, Mr. Zach in the Wild. And in addition to a new handle style, it's got a new blade shape as well. We've got a clip point going on here. Just under $80 for this version right here. You've got contoured Gaborsha wood handles and brass bolsters on the cool design. And this is an area, I will admit, where having a blockout plate as part of the design opens up some aesthetic things you can do. Matching brass color to, is it color or is it actually matching brass? I'm not sure. But matches the bolster right there. So it's a really cool stylistic element in this case, I will grant you. As far as the grip itself, for my slightly larger than average hand, it's about a 3.5 finger grip. So it's not a huge handle, but I can definitely choke up, span my pivot around the finger guard right there. I can get that gorilla grip when I need to and put that blade to work, which is about 2.9 inches, and you've got 14C28N in this case as well. Very thin 14C as well. So it's going to slice really, really nicely with its high flat grind and overall thin cross section right there. Really nice. You've got the protection from the finger guard, which is nice. You've got a small deep carry pocket clip, kept it on the minier side, and of course it is reversible as mentioned. And you got the crossbar lock as well. And I'm pleased to say that ever since the initial release of the I almost said Banter, the Yonder a couple years ago, where I thought the springs were a little too light, they've definitely heavied up the springs. This feels a lot better, and the whole series has felt a lot better for a long time as well. So if you've heard anything about that in past releases, rest assured it has been taken care of, which is quite nice. Classy look. I know why they went with the clip point. It's kind of like Buck 110 style, so they didn't want to put the reverse tanto on that, I guess. Or the spade blade. I'm going to call it a spade blade. Speaking of banters, Ben Peterson. Ben and Zach, of course, used to work together, used to host videos together, but Ben, of course, has his NAFS company now, but he's still collaborating with WE Knife Company and CIVIVI, the budget sub-brand, and this is the Baby Banter Slipjoint. which is really cool. And it's a slip joint. It's like a modern slip joint done the way I enjoy, in that it still, despite being non-locking, has an inherent safety measure. And that's with the finger choil right here. You grip it like so. If the blade starts to close on you, your finger should prevent the blade from moving too far, unless it's like an extreme situation. And it is an unguarded finger choil, so keep that in mind as well. But there's just an inherent degree of safety to this type of design over something that doesn't have that I really, really appreciate. It's also a size you could take just about anywhere. 2.34 inches on the blade length, non-locking, which means it, even in very restrictive knife locations, this might cut the mustard. I don't know why you would cut mustard with a knife.
But mustard seeds.
Possibly. But of course, we're not lawyers and you should know your local knife laws, of course.
And mustards.
$63 and change. There's also a wood-handled version of this if you want a more classic modern slip joint. And that's about $68. They've both got Nitro V steel, which is very similar to 14C28N. Thin and slicey, not too aggressive of a tip. Again, keeping it on the polite side of things, but still a very usable tip for opening boxes and packages, that sort of thing. Blue G10 reversible deep carry pocket clip with the blockout plate, and then just that slip joint mechanism. It's not a super aggressive, back spring. It's not weak by any stretch of the imagination, but they've kept it at a very nice place to be able to use it easily with those thumb studs. So you still have all the convenience of a modern one-hand opening and closing folder, just without the lock. Works really, really nicely. And decently budget friendly as well. Only $64 for the standard version right here. And if you don't like the blue handle, you can always dye it black, I guess, because that's a possibility. Don't know what else. You could probably dye it purple. Get a little, throw some red on there and get a little purplish thing going on.
I'll do you.
Speaking of purple, I actually didn't even plan that as a transition. This is the Sencut Vyrce, V-Y-R-C-E. Interesting. And as is always the case, Sencut is giving you a ton of knife for the money here as well. Just over $40, and you've got a 3.5-inch D2 blade. So it's only a semi-stainless, but it's a tool steel with very, very high edge retention, especially compared to any other steel in the $40 price range. Really, really nice stuff. The edge itself is very thin as well, with a hollow grind, and the edge itself just a whisper. So very efficient and cutty geometry there right behind the edge. Finished really nicely. Purple micarta on this one, but there are a few flavors that you could get. A very neutral teardrop type of handle, so every kind of hand size should work on this pretty well. You've got a liner lock for the security. You've got a flipper tab and thumb studs. Take your pick on what you want to use. Slightly lighter detent there, actually, as you could see, but it flicks quite nicely, and a deep carry reversible pocket clip. The first CIVIVIs, when they came out, were kind of more like this. I would always say, like, this knife has CIVIVI's greatest hits, because all of the knives at the time had, full liners with a liner lock, ball bearings in the pivot, flippers or thumb studs, D2 steel, and a deep carry clip. Then they took CIVIVI a little higher, and Sencut is kind of come in underneath. So this Sencut knife has all of CIVIVI's greatest hits at a great price. Hard to beat, it really is. All right, the next 4 releases, let me just check my notes here, are all limited edition WE knife releases. They are all featuring M390 steel, and they are all about the same size in that they approach a 4-inch blade. They're about 3.8 inches. So I won't spend too much time on each of them individually. I'll just show them to you quickly and together. This is the Reveille. A few different flavors of each of these can be had. I like this bronze machined version here. I've always liked that finish from the WE knife releases in the way it showcases the facets and everything going on here. Really nice details around the pivot as well. You've got a frame lock. All of these knives are frame locks as well. You've got a kind of aggressive, not thumb studs, but this plate. It almost looks like a section of like Picatinny rail or something there from the top, but gives you a pretty aggressive place to flick it open with your thumb. You've got the blade cut out as well. Feel in the hand, pretty darn nice for a big premium knife like this. I like the feel of this even better. This is the Flight line. Oh, this is not a frame lock. This is a nested liner lock actually. What was the price on that other one? I didn't mention that. $365. This one's about $348. And the price goes up from there depending on which one you get. Actually, this is the most expensive one. I lied. The others are about $335, depending on which one you get. You've got a kind of hand rub finish on the M390 blade here. Just subtle details on the gray titanium handle that are pretty nice. This section is really cool to look at here on the back with the integrated lanyard spot on the back spacer there and the kind of inside faceting of the handles that create space for that lanyard to pass through if you are in fact passing a lanyard through there. Pocket clip there on the back with a single barrel post. Nested liner lock, as I said. Let's do the action. Flips really nicely. You do have kind of a point here on the front. It's not quite a glass breaker point because it's not quite that sharp, which is a good thing for your pockets because that's where it's going to be spending most of its time, of course. Pretty cool clip point blade there as well. Next up, this is the breech. This one comes in $386 and change. Other flavors are available, including ones that aren't so hard to see. Actually, I couldn't have picked one that was more camo to the shirt, at least in terms of the ones available in this selection right here. Two-tone pattern on the blade on this one. They're calling this pixel pattern camo. Yeah, I guess it's kind of an urban camo or digicam inspired type of thing. Big, aggressive, full-length back spacer on that one, which is pretty cool to see. Actually, you've got that on the Reveille there as well. Similar style, I should say. Frame lock here. Flipper action. Works great. I mean, knife stuff is built to really high degrees and really nice tolerances, so this is no surprise. 210. This one's numbered. Are the other ones numbered as well? Yes, they are. 210 of that one. 200 of that one. Yeah. And how many of this next one? 210 of this one. This is the hull. So it's like the hull of a ship or something right there. And it also has sort of a camo pattern going on. This is the blue terrain camo. More subtle than the Digicam inspired one we just looked at. My favorite detail though is the way this back spacer interacts with the two sides of the titanium right there. I kind of like slots into place and then is screwed in from the sides. This isn't one of those ones where it's like screwed in from the back and that's what's holding the sides together, but it has that similar type of look as that style of clip. Nested liner lock on this one as well. Very clean profile in the closed position. For those of you out there that appreciate a knife that tail stands, I've never figured out why you appreciate that, but this does it, if that's your thing. Sorry to throw shade. Might have been a little out of line on my part. Apologies. Flipper tab is subtle, yet works quite nicely. Machine style satin finish on this one. Yeah, pretty cool. All of them built really well. It's kind of the same thing, just a little different shape on each of them. So pick which one strikes your fancy and go from there, my friends. Next up, we have from Reate Knives, collaboration with Vulpex, of course. This is the VK-FROK right here. These are about $350 to start with. My favorite one actually has crystallized titanium but non-anodized handle. We couldn't get that one on the video today, but that's okay. You can check out pictures on the website. This thing is nice. It's got a really kind of overbuilt feel to it. The blade is not super thick though, but everything else about it screams like properly chunky in that type of way that you want if you like that style of knife. 3.2-inch blade, L-Max steel, modified sheep's foot shape, shall we say? You can't call it a reverse Tanto, I'm sorry. You really can't in this case.
I still will.
You can, but you'd be wrong. Gray titanium, or stonewashed titanium in this case, that matches the finish on that L-Max blade really, really nicely. You've got slightly darker of a color on the milled clip and on the back spacer right there. Really, like, I can't stress enough, the feel in the hand of this really inspires that kind of overbuilt quality that some folks really, really dig. And the blade angles down. You could score really easily with that. If you are using this to pierce, it's not the pierciest blade shape out there, but it orients really well for that. It also orients really well if you're pushing through a longer cut as you get closer to the bottom, the blade stays at a pretty aggressive angle through what you're cutting, thanks to that drop, which is pretty cool. Almost said line lock. Frame lock there, and 2 ways to open. Before we do though, can we appreciate that nice shape in the closed position? Really, really nice. You've got a flipper tab, which is subtle, yet works quite nicely, allegedly. And then you've got this big oversized thumb stud right there, which actually that worked really well. And a really cool detail on the back side securing it. You are going to need a custom screwdriver head, of course, if you needed to or wanted to adjust that. Really, really cool series of knives, however. Next up, we have from Spartan Blades, their field grade Soter. $217 for this. You got a 3 1/4 inch S35 VN blade and what they call the race lock, which is kind of another take on that dorsal style lock. Kind of seeing how it works. It really reminds me of, it's almost a crossbar lock, if I'm honest. Yeah, it's kind of crossbar-y in nature, but instead of going through the handles, you've got a coil spring here and a cap to pull it forward and backwards. And the cool thing about this cap is, let me back up. There's pluses and minuses to dorsal style locking fins here on the back, like the shark lock being one of them. The shark lock from Demco, very easy to use, but it does stick up. Doesn't get in the way for me, but it might get in the way for some. If you want to make things subtler, slimmer, more streamlined, they get harder to use. This one manages to get more streamlined without being harder to use. You've got this, beveled square cap on the top, and even if you're wearing a pair of gloves, pretty darn easy to actuate, which is a pretty neat trick that they've managed to pull off there. The handles on the knife are carbon fiber, and it's full carbon fiber, not a carbon fiber laminated on top of G10. As such, the weight of the knife is not super aggressive. Really, it says 3.92 ounces. It doesn't quite feel that heavy for this size of knife, and maybe that is because the weight in the handle is so reduced thanks to that full carbon fiber there. And then the only liners you're dealing with is just up here near the pivot section. Balance, however, pretty darn good. Just barely ahead of the index finger groove, which means right here it's maybe tiny bit blade heavy, but not so much that you really feel it, if I'm honest. And then when you're kind of choked right there, it feels perfectly neutral, which is really nice. The 3 1/4 inch blade has that harpoon point, as opposed to actual harpoon shape that we saw on the Spud right there. A little bit thicker and not a crazy high grind, so not as slicey as some, but should be pretty durable under use, and it looks great too. All right, now for all my fixed blade fans, I am sorry that the fixed blades wound up at the tail end of the video today. That's just what happened. This is the Bradford Knives G-Tanto, based on their G-Necker series, which you could make the G silent, it could still be the G-Necker, the Necker. I digress.
I don't know about that.
But I digest. There's a few versions of this, different finishes and whatnot. This one right here, Nitro V, $109, US made. And here's, talking about compromises with dorsal style locks. There's always a compromise with skeletonized, neck knives as well. You either make the stock thick enough so that it's comfortable in the hand, but then you sacrifice slicing ability, or you make it so the blade is nice and slicey and the handle gets less convenient to use. Now you can get around this by wrapping it in paracord, of course, and some people do that, or fashioning grips yourself. The cool thing about the G series here, the G-Tanto and the G-Necker, they've done both. They started with thick steel so that in hand it feels good, and then just milled through or ground through the top edge, which is normally if you see this, it means it's a mistake. It ground too high, and you don't want to see that. But they made it a part of the design here. This is not a mistake. They thinned down the blade so that it still slices decently. If you had a blade this tall that was this thick, it would not be pleasant to use. So it's cool way to get around both sides of the problem. What did I say? $109, as mentioned for it. Stone washed finish, which works nicely for hiding scratches, as I mentioned before. Tanto shape, which you can, of course, see. The sheath for this is Kydex, and it is right here. and it comes with a paracord lanyard here, or not lanyard, words.
Lanyard works.
Is it? Am I just having a complete brain fart now? You can put it around your neck with this thing here.
Neck loop.
Your neck loop. If you want to put a clip on it, let's see, the holes themselves are not quite TechLock compatible, but a T-clip would work because you've got this slot in it right there. So you could attach it to a belt with one of those. An Ulti-clip would work really well if you wanted to put it inside of a pocket, of course. Let me just check the small TechLock. They don't make these anymore, but it might fit. Aha, it does fit a small TechLock size hole pattern. So if you have one of these laying around, that would work as well if you wanted to carry it another way other than neck carry. But back to neck carry, they've done things right here. You've got two rivets at the top, so it'll sit flat and not twist around on you and not be in the right orientation when you go to actually draw it. And you got a drain hole in the Kydex for drainage. Surprise, surprise, that's what it's for. Next up, pocket fix blades, hooray. We have from Three Rivers a new big batch of their tag-along knife. A trailing point blade here of Magna cut steel, 2.3 inches and some change, about 2 3/8 or so, I should say. $179 for this one with really cool handles here. It's black, brown, and maple layers of rich light. It's almost like root beer type of thing going on. Oh, that's the vibe it gives me.
Root beer float.
That floats my boat. Yeah, really nice, just small daily utility type of cutter. All about the slice with that upswept blade and a ton of belly here. Just everyday slicey types of things for sure. The sheath comes with an Ulti clip for pocket carry, and it is this leather number right here. Really, really exuding quality all around. Big welt on the side, or big section on the side. Let's check other mounting options because that's what we're doing right now. If you wanted a T-clip, that would work. Large TechLock would not. And just for kicks, let's try that small TechLock yet again. Not quite. So if the Ulti clip for pocket carry doesn't do it for you, and you wanted it on your belt, a CIVIVI T-clip would be the money. And I think those are still less than $10, I think, these days. So they're very affordable. And that's a very cool knife. Next up, last but certainly not least, Boker's Magnum collection knife for the year 2026 is this. And I am really liking what they've been doing with their Magnum collection knives. Last year was that Carruthers design, which was phenomenal. I wish they would put a version of that into regular production because it turned out so, so good. And the price was really nice too. And that's what you get with this knife as well. So the designer of this, let me see if we have it down here because it's hard to read on the blade. Matthias Leimkuhler. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. In fact, I'm sure I am. And I'm not as familiar with his work as I am with Nathan Carruthers' work from last year's knife. But based on the way this is, I think I need to get more acquainted with him because this is awesome. It's just really, really nicely done. It is the nicest stacked leather handle knife at this price that I've ever held. Just, it is. I have held nicer stacked leather handled knives, but not that much nicer, and those have all been quite a bit more expensive than this. And the stuff you get less than this is not as nice as this. It's really nice. I don't know how else to put it. You got a 6-inch clip point blade. The steel is BKR 10, which is sort of, near as I can tell, because they've only, I can only find information from it from Boker themselves. It's sort of a powder metal version of VG10, which should make it a little bit tougher. Not that VG10 is a brittle steel to begin with, or that brittle of a steel anyway, but you get, should get some extra toughness out of this. The spine is finished nicely. It's not crowned, nor is it crisp. It's just blended really well. So it's not going to hurt you if you're choking up there to push into a cut with your thumb right there. The whole blade is narrow enough to keep it agile. It's going to pierce really nicely if you wanted to use this as sort of a, combat knife. But as a general purpose woods knife, it's going to do a lot for you. And that blade shape is going to work really, really well. Did I say clip point? Ooh, it's actually a drop point too. You've got a hint of rock right there. That means I like it even better because I'm a drop point guy. What can I say? The stacked leather, the shape, the swell is perfect for my slightly larger than average hands. You got finger guard there at the front to keep you from sliding forward. Enough of a beak there at the back as well. Again, for my hand size, that works really well. If you've got really big hands, you might start to get a little cramped on here. Gosh, I love it. Again, for the money, very impressive, especially when you consider like Boker's Magnum series of knives is typically their, entryest level stuff. It's not always, materials that a lot of knife enthusiasts would, agree to carry. So the fact that they're putting stuff out under the Magnum brand that is this good says a lot. The sheath is really cool. Loop around in a contrasting color for your carry. Nicely stitched. Not quite as polished as some higher end knives or higher end sheaths on the edges, but I can get past that because as soon as I pick this knife up, fantastic. 1,999 pieces. We don't have all of them though. It's a beauty. It's a beaut, Clark. Check it out. If you want to check out any of these knives, make sure to follow the links in the description or those QR codes you've been seeing throughout the video. Those links will take you to KnifeCenter.com. Don't forget about our Knife Rewards program that gets you free money on your future purchases, as well as options like Sezzle at checkout if you want to break things into smaller payments. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.